Hello and welcome to Theatre Reviews with Paul Severn. I'm here at the Almeida Theatre to see Cleansed. Warning, this review contains mentions of subjects of a violent and sexual nature. Cleansed is a play containing a lot of scenes of torture. In fact, if you see it, you might feel you've been tortured yourself, at least mentally. The trigger warnings issued by the Almeida Theatre read like a litany of everything that could possibly cause upset. Torture, murder, violence, including sexual violence, depictions of sex and nudity, drug abuse, depictions of suicide, homophobic language, misogynistic language, blood. Oh yes, there's a lot of blood. And no explanation of why, where, or who. But if we respect that this is a serious work by a talented playwright, well, we must address this shocking content. Especially since Sarah Kane, who sadly committed suicide a few years after writing it, claimed that it could only be done in a theatre with no mediating by censors. So unlike TV and film, it's just them and us. I'd say in response to that, well, I don't watch horror films, but I doubt that any of the horrors that take place on this stage have not been seen in recent times in an 18 certificate film. And in some ways, film does create more realistic injuries and therefore is more believable. But the real reason this is more powerful as theatre is because we are present in the same space as the actors, who use their own voices and bodies to communicate directly into our senses, to stir our imagination. And it's the imagination that really adds to that horror. So what was its effect? What was its message? I mean, could it be a case of the Emperor's new clothes and that in fact it's an experiment gone wrong? I mean, after all, Ms. Kane herself went on to say after writing it and even performing in it, "I'm past violence. I'm really sick of it." And did Rebecca Frecknell's production help or hinder the author's intentions, whatever they were? Well, I want to say now that I think she did a disservice to the play. Keep watching and I'll tell you why, and what I got out of all that detailed horror. But first, please like, comment and subscribe to this channel. And please visit my website, Theatre.Reviews, for written versions of my reviews and also my roundups of other critics' reviews, including of Cleansed. And I can tell you, the range went from 5 stars to 1 star. I should say that I have no special insight into what was going on in Sarah Kane's head when she wrote Cleansed. I mean, I have read some things by her and about her, but any thoughts I have about this play are based purely on the play itself. Now, cleansing has a special meaning in religions, particularly the Catholic one, where immorality needs to be cleansed. And of course, we have also witnessed, often in our own lifetimes, ethnic cleansing. I mean, only 4 years prior to the premiere of Cleansed, the Rwandan civil war had taken place, in which the Hutus in power tried to wipe out the Tutsis completely and murdered up to 1 million people, including Hutus who opposed them. Now, the play takes to the extreme the way moral disapproval or disagreement can spiral into punishment and elimination. Now, clearly Sarah Kane knew that the torture and, for some, the sexual relationships would be shocking. Her first play, Blasted, had been described by the Daily Mail theatre critic Jack Tinker as a disgusting feast of filth. Perhaps to counter this way of dismissing her work, she incorporated many echoes of previous very respected plays and other works, some of which I'll mention. Now, in this play, we meet a number of what you might call transgressive people. There's a homosexual male couple, And this play was written when there were still restrictions on gay relationships that didn't apply to heterosexual ones. Well, even today, gay people in the UK don't feel entirely safe. Elsewhere, including that influencers and holidaymakers paradise Dubai, same-sex relations are illegal. And in the UK's great ally Saudi Arabia, the death penalty still applies. We also meet a brother and sister, Grace and Graham, who are, or were, in an incestuous relationship. Something still illegal in the UK. It didn't end well for a similar relationship in John Ford's 17th century play "'Tis Pity She's a Whore", and nor does it here. The line, "Love me or kill me", which Grace says to Graham, is a direct lift from "'Tis Pity She's a Whore". Completing the lineup of victims, there's Robin, a submissive transvestite, and a character described as Woman, who performs a peep show, so she would seem to be a sex worker. The play is set in a place said in the script to be a university, but it bears all the hallmarks of a secret prison or asylum. Madeline Girling's set is an anonymous grey, and if it is a university, well, it may be a humorous reference to the re-education taking place under the tutelage of a man called Tinker. Probably not coincidentally the name of the aforementioned theatre critic. He's played by Leo Bill as a seedy and creepily unpleasant psychopath, but with hints of anxiety. Now he sets about punishing the inmates, for want of a better term. The gay couple promise love to each other, although the heart-on-his-sleeve naive Carl, played by a wide-eyed Luke Cinque-White, is far more certain of his commitment than Parth Thakara's Rod, who settles for love in the here and now. And thus it is Carl who undergoes one correction after another, his tongue removed to stop him talking about love, his hands to stop him writing about it, and more. Now that's a straight steal from Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus, and there's a further scene that echoes the red-hot poker fate of Christopher Marlowe's Edward II. Miss Kane seems to be reminding us that there's nothing new in the horrors of the world, nor the challenges that authors present to audiences and directors in portraying them. Now, Carl does betray his lover, and here there are echoes of George Orwell's 1984, another story of the intolerance of totalitarianism. But it is Rod who pays the ultimate price when he comes to understand that his love is deeper than he realised. You're watching Theatre Reviews with Paul Seven. My review of Cleansed will continue in just a moment. But first, could I just ask you to think about subscribing to this channel and also visiting my website, Theatre.Reviews. Graham, the brother in the incestuous couple, played by Jack Rutherford, dies at the very beginning of the play in a scene that sets the tone for the evening. He begs to end it all and is injected by Tinker with heroin in the eyeball. But he remains on stage as someone in the imagination of his sister Grace. And this is a clue for some that the play is a dream, or series of dreams. And that is a possible interpretation, and one that was leaned on in the National Theatre production of 10 or so years ago. But I personally don't think we should give in to our need to understand and explain. There is no plot in Cleansed, and it's a mistake to try and find one. Like Beckett's plays, there are developments in Cleansed, but it's much more about each moment. Rather than a dream, Cleansed seems to offer a metaphor floating outside the confines of narrative or plot, a metaphor for the price of love and the pain it causes in a loveless world. The Kinks' Days is played at one point, which I assume is significant for its lyric, "Though you're gone, you're with me every single day, believe me." We also hear Handel's water music throughout, as if art is neutral in the battle between love and violence. Only Angus MacRae's repetitive background sound picks up the sinister horror in the play. Grace, who's played with passion by Pearl Chowder, arrives asking for her dead brother's clothes. She's introduced to Robin, who's wearing Graham's clothes. Both are made to strip off and put on each other's outfits. I think the nudity here is meant to prove she is a woman, since she subsequently identifies with her brother, first seeing her and him as one, and ultimately seeing herself as him. Shades here, I think, of Viola's adoption of her brother Sebastian's persona in Twelfth Night, and of Cathy's exclamation, "I am Heathcliff," in Wuthering Heights. Grace is submitted to a number of horrible humiliations, including rape, and eventually a possibly logical but not necessarily welcome surgery. The transvestite Robin, played with sensitivity by Stuart Thompson, falls in love with Grace and is punished for that. Grace tries to teach him to read, but Tinker burns the books. Now, book burning has gone on through the centuries when authorities have wanted to eliminate opposition and immorality or whole cultures. In the 20th century, the Nazis burned books by Jews and left-wing writers. Love plays a major part in this play. Love is tested and characters are punished for their love. But love survives until they die. Flowers, first a sunflower, then a field of daffodils, represent a world of beauty. Tinker himself is susceptible to feeling love, although in his case it manifests as lust, which he cannot satisfy. Every so often he makes a peep show dancer called Woman, played by Lizzie Connolly, perform for him while he masturbates unsuccessfully. So how did Rebecca Frecknell handle the violence? Well, she starts with two explicit events, the injection in the eyeball and the cutting off of a tongue. And, well, I guess we've seen similar moments before on stage, certainly in Shakespeare plays. And it does serve to put us on edge as to what might happen next. But what does happen is that she moves much more towards suggestion. Now, I do see the difficulty of making torture on stage convincing without distracting us into thinking, how did they do that? Or, well, that wasn't very realistic. But what Miss Frecknell does is go all symbolic. So hands and feet are not prosthetics that are actually cut off. Instead, these bodily extremities remain attached and are simply soaked in blood. A castration is so symbolic you might not even realise what was happening. In the script, characters are beaten up, hurled against walls, or sexually assaulted. Their attackers are invisible, and the actors mime their reactions. Again, that's fuel for the idea that this is all in their heads or a dream. And it is beautiful and balletic, but not particularly upsetting, actually. Rats, a prominent feature in the script, don't make an appearance, although we do hear them. Would Sarah Kane approve of the violence becoming symbolic and beautiful? I don't know. I just know I didn't. I think the play is intended to make us confront the violence in ourselves, not skirt around it, to look squarely at what we as humans are capable of and what we as individuals fear. The point at which we might cause violence to others, even someone we love, to save ourselves. Another thing, it's too easy not to notice when carried away by Sarah Kane's stagecraft that she was also something of a poet. The language of the play is spare but lyrical. Here's an example. I love you now. I'll do my best, moment to moment, not to betray you. Now. That's it. No more. Don't make me lie to you. Now, I think there's something to be said for a bit of grand guignol, even though I find the less explicit plays of, say, Harold Pinter more sinister and more effective in their explorations of intolerance and domination. Still, Cleanse is a well-constructed piece of theatre from a playwright who had much insight, not only into theatre, but into our world of hate and love. Sadly, I think Rebecca Frecknell didn't get the best out of it. So I give this production of Sarah Kane's Cleansed 3 stars. I hope you found this review interesting and useful, and if you did, please like, comment and subscribe to this channel, then you'll be the first to know about my future reviews. And you can read my reviews at Theatre.Reviews, along with my roundups of other critics' reviews. And you can follow me on a number of social media, Threads, Mastodon, Facebook, Blue Sky. Oh, and did I say Instagram? There's so many.